Is Iliatha now the greatest nation? Hey, welcome to the Grizzled Warmaster. My name is Doug, and today we're going to talk about the Lumineth Realm Lords in 3.0. As we know, AOS 3 is coming out in just a week and a half as of recording this video, and I've been diving into my Lumineth, trying to make a list based on the new points that were revealed in the General's Handbook. For those of you who haven't seen, a couple of creators got their hands on, well, didn't get their hands on, they were given advanced copies of the General's Handbook by GW, and they went over them in fairly exhaustive details so we could see what the point values of everything is. Everybody's points are going up. Lumineth are right in the same boat as just about everybody else. The biggest hit probably to them was Teklus going up 80 points to 740. And Marathi took his old spot at 660, which doesn't make any sense. Now, don't get me wrong. Teklus is going to be amazing in this new edition. One of his biggest weaknesses was that he could be burned down pretty quick. That he didn't have a way to heal. He didn't have built-in resistance to damage. He has an okay save, not a great save. But now with the changes to the rules, he can get a pretty good save. He can heal from several different ways. So he's going to be a little more endurant than he was before, and he gives the army some amazing abilities, especially with the new rules for endless spells, being able to move in both hero phases. His 4-up aura of ignoring the effects of spells and endless spells can be a huge boon to his army. So I don't want to take away from that, but I did think that was a little bit harsh to raise him 80 points. But let's get to the headline for this video, and that is taking a second look at the great nation of Iliatha. Now, you remember I did a video a few months ago about the great nations of the Lumineth and where I thought they ranked up. And Iliatha was frankly at the bottom of my list. I thought it was kind of a weird choice. It basically had duplicated some of the same abilities of command abilities we already have. But as we should have realized, or I should have realized, some people might have already said this, and I think some did, and I kind of like, yeah, that's possible, but it wasn't clear at the time what the changes in 3 were going to be and how they would impact all of the different armies. And now with everything, the command abilities for all-out attack and all-out defense, and for Mystic Shield and stuff like that, all being pluses to things, getting rerolls is super good. In addition, the ability to only use one command ability on a particular unit at a particular time, per phase. So say you've got a couple of units of archers, you can't give them both all-out attack because only one unit can receive any particular command ability once, and any unit can only have one command ability used on it per phase. So that's where Iliatha comes in. Their unity of purpose ability, the ability of 2 units who are within 3 inches of each other to benefit from the same command ability, is amazing. Add to that they're built the command ability they come with for their great nation, Strike in Unison, is now one of the only ways out there, at least for the Lumineth, to get rerolls. So we had wondered, why give this Strike in Unison, which is essentially all-out attack or volley fire from 2.0 or from AOS 2. Now we see that all-out attack has changed to that +1. Now having a command ability that allows rerolls of ones, hit rolls of 1, is amazing. So you can now get archers or even wardens, sentinels or wardens, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. Now, I think for the sentinels, let me double check this. The stats. Now, the sentinels, if they're direct fire, they hit on 3s, so that could take it down to 2s, re-rolling 1s with. Actually, no, they can't benefit from both of those. So they'd be 3s, re-rolling 1s. But you could have 2 units of sentinels right next to each other, benefiting from these abilities at the same time. This gets even better when you consider things like Unleash Hell. So if you had 2 units of Arlon Sentinels positioned together within 3 inches and set up kind of long ways so that, you know, they have a shorter head front to get them up right behind your front line together, because with 30-inch range you don't need to be close, and it's just the unit that has to be within 9 inches of a charging unit. You could now give one of those units Unleash Hell, and the second one would benefit from it as well, meaning you'd get 2 units firing at incoming chargers, you know, hitting on 4s, but if you've got your Powers of Hishoff, doing mortal wounds on 5s and 6s. That is amazing. You're going to shred anybody coming in daring to charge your lines. Even something as nasty as a monster like a Maw Crusher, maybe not a Mega Gargant, but a lot of other things, you're going to put a big dent in them. Say you have, between the two, you've got a unit of 10 and a unit of 20. On average, they should do 9 mortal wounds. And because that unit is within 18 inches, obviously, you're also going to be hitting on 3s taken to 4s. So hitting on 4s. So half of your shots are going to hit. 2/3 of those hits will be mortal wounds, but there's still a third that could potentially wound at a -1 rend. So you're really upping your damage output against chargers. And this just, I'm super enthused now with Iliatha. They have one other benefit that only 2 of the great nations have. And it's 2 different areas, but they do not have a dictated command ability, or not command ability, command trait. So you can pick your general and then pick your general's command trait based on the keyword, I guess, whether they're Venari or Huracan or Alarith. They have 3 different command traits they can take. So depending on which one you make as your general, you'll have those to pick from, and they've actually got some really good ones. Scenari is also another one of those. So you've got several that give you command points. One of them, the Venari one, is every time you spend a command point, roll a die. On a 6, you get a command point. And so far, that has not been capped that I've seen. So with the increased prevalence of command points, that might get you a few extras. If you have a Scenari who is your general, they have a command point generally on 4+, you get a command point. Several of them they can know an extra spell from their lore. So there's a lot of good choices for those command traits. So the ability to freely choose those is pretty cool. And they have a decent artifact. I think it's called the Phoenix Pendant, something like that. Where, they roll a die when they die. On a 4-up, they stand back up with all of their... Oh, it's the Simulacra Amulet. That's what it is. So on a 4 through 6, they're not slain. All the wounds allocated to them are healed, and any remaining to be healed are negated. So you stand back up at full health, which is a pretty cool ability. It's all, obviously once per battle. The first time they're slain, they can use that. And they've got also Soul Bond, which is they've got +2 bravery. And now that having 10 or more models does not increase your bravery statistic, that's a pretty good little buff. Get you up to bravery 9, I think, on most of your units. Yeah, there's a few heroes that have better, but for the most part, the troops themselves are all in the 6s and 7s. The wardens and the sentinels both only have 6 bravery, so jumping up to 8 is a pretty good. Blade lords and dawn riders have 7. Some of the other, we don't need to look through all those, but it'll also increase the leadership or the bravery of your heroes. So if they want to use heroic recovery, they're more likely to be able to do that. So for example, I believe the Lord Regent has an 8, so that'd take him up to a 10. The Cathalar has a 7, that'd take her up to a 9. So both of those would have a much better chance of being able to use the heroic recovery. So lots of cool things now in Iliatha with the new rules for 3.0. I was kind of going to go through all of the units and see if there's any big changes, but for the most part, there isn't. Some of the new heroes that came out with the second edition of their battle tome have their abilities are a little better because of the way 3.0 is going to be, but not enough to make them now viable options, I don't think. So for example, the Banner Blade, the guy who's got that giant banner, he gives all realm lords wholly within 18 inches +1 bravery, +3 if he's +3 if he's within 3 inches of the enemy. Again, he's a pretty weak hero, so you probably didn't want to do that. So again, that could get your troops up a little higher. His once per battle ability is not great. It didn't get any all that much better. So a lot of those, I went through all of the units again to try and say, okay, has something changed in 3.0 to make them better? And for the most part, no. I think you're still going to stick with the core that was there before. There will be some people who go off on a limb and do some, interesting, weird lists, that, focus on not those core Venari troops and just kind of make some fun lists. But I think competitively, Sentinels and Wardens are where it's at. You'll always have a Cathalar, or you should always have a Cathalar. If you don't, I hate to say it, but you're doing it wrong. They are absolutely essential, especially if you're not Iliatha and getting that bonus to your bravery. Your people are going to flee in droves if you don't have a Cathalar there to fix them up on bravery and give them that 2-up to ignore battle shot. Lord Regents are appearing in a lot of lists, which is logical with the ability to. He's a fairly cheap hero if you don't go with the named one, and ability to cast Power of Hish on D3 units, freeing them up to cast other spells. That's cool. Although probably not quite as important as it used to be because of the new chronomatic cogs, which I think you'll find coming in a lot of Lumineth lists. The cogs now give all wizards within 6 inches the ability to cast an additional spell. So I have a feeling that's going to be in a lot. And it's pretty cheap. It's only 45 points, whereas a lot of the other endless spells have gone up dramatically in points. So I could see the cogs being in quite a few lists. But there you go, guys. There is why I think Iliatha has climbed up on the list. And it's probably, I'm going to play a few practice games with Iliatha. I think it's for me, it's between them and Zatrek, which list I want to go with, or which great nation I want to go with now. Healan, I think, is going to be a favorite of a lot of people, but I think it's a little more limited than people think. You're going to have your Sentinels out on the front lines. accepting charges to get those extra attacks, yes, it will drastically increase their damage. But if they're taken out, then almost all of Healin's abilities are kind of next to nothing. So, but all right. Let me know down in the comments which of the Great Nations do you think is the best, and let me know what you are looking forward to the most in AOS 3. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.